Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists. On today we have James returning again, back-to-back regional tops, and with entirely different decks. Last time we saw him bringing on Madolche at Cannock, and this time he's bringing on Sky Striker from Manchester, taking home a third place regional top. So this event had 123 players, 7 rounds of Swiss. It was fine and pretty well run. Maybe the chairs could have been a bit better, but they have these horrible folding wooden chairs that don't really feel like they're going to support you properly. He chose to play Sky Striker because it is the main meta deck that he's been playing since it came out, so over a year and a half ago, and it's probably the last regional that he's going to before January 1st, when the deck will potentially get entirely slaughtered by a ban list. In terms of variations from sort of normal decks, he says it's pretty standard outside of the lack of hand traps. He was playing a go second list with mind controls, just trying to pick apart the boards that the opponents make. It seemed like the best way to go, as the deck seems to be fairly fragile in setting up turn 1 boards unless you open with an engage and a way to put 3 spells in the grave. So if we look at this list, you can see exactly what he's mentioned. We've got the mind controls in here, the Into the Voids being a very popular go second choice, and just the triple imperm in terms of the hand traps, really just stuff built to rip apart the opposing boards with these Cosmic Cyclones, the Silent Universe in here as well you can use to do that stuff too, which is really, really nice on top of that. In terms of siding, he says that to be fair, he found siding with this deck is pretty hard, as the whole idea is not to run more than 36 cards, so that the Into the Voids are, it just makes them kind of hard to side out, and things like Cyclones wouldn't really come out, would have to come out close to time, but otherwise that's just about it. He had to sort of weigh up what is more of a blowout in terms of certain matchups and judge from there. Outside of being utterly terrible at the game technically with deck building, side decking is kind of one of his weaker skills, he says. But although, you know, maybe you think it's one of your weaker skills, James, but I don't think it's going to be something that's holding you back if you can carry on with these top decks back to back, making those regional top spots. It's just seems like it's easily within your stride here. So in terms of the rounds that he played then, as he said, it was a 7-round event, starting off against Endymion. He says probably the hardest matchup for this deck, but the guy was fairly new and was only playing basically 3 structure decks with some extra deck cards in it. However, the big Endymion with a counter is still fairly difficult to out, so obviously that accounts for the 1 loss there. Round 2 against Grand Magi, a 2-0 here, having Widow Anchors and Imperms whenever the opponent tried to push, makes it fairly easy. Round 3 against Thunder Dragon, a 2-1, fairly difficult and a stark reminder, he says, of how bad he is at the game. You really got to stop putting yourself down, James. He had an amazing opener and managed to somehow mess it up in game 3, however. The opponent was placed in a position where no matter what they did, James either made Kaina or Hayate, so in the end it really did not matter. Round 4 against Orca Striker, the guy apparently literally resolved 5 engages before James even saw his first one, which made him very sad, unfortunately, so crying face, F's in the chat please. Game 1 was a very grindy game. Game 2 was a bit of a blowout on his behalf, and in Game 3, the opponent tried to scythe him, so then proceeded to get anchored and then slapped with their own scythe. So that will teach them, those naughty Orca Striker players with their artifacts. Silly. Round 5, Orca Striker again, this time a 1-2. Going up against Luke. So game 1, he just unfortunately died basically. Game 2, Luke managed to brick, and then in game 3, both of them were fairly low on hand resources, and the opponent had just about enough engrave in order to beat James, because he was just top decking at that point, and he got the field spell and that whiffed, so he really couldn't stop himself from dying in that situation. Round 6 against Orca Striker. 2-0 here, the game was complete clown fiesta, however the guy was fairly sound. Game 1, whenever he had an Orcus card, he was met with a Cord Bite or a Shark Cannon, so very unfortunate for him there. And then in Game 2, it was very much the same, except he was met with 2 consecutive Lanciers, and ultimately ended up decking out from Gizmek activations. Very, very strange, that one. Round 7 against Pendulum FTK. He says, luckily game 1 the opponent messed up the combo and couldn't kill him, and then proceeded to die thanks to Destrudo, and then in game 2 the opponent opened poorly. However, the game, James was nearly given a game loss for technical plays because it was a long day, and you kind of struggle at that point after it's been 7 rounds, especially with, he's just come back from topping a previous regional. You've got to give the guy a break. So shout-outs from James go to Harlequins, Preston and Blackpool and their respective locals. Ninja Gate Cards on Card Market, check them out. Connor, Luke, Stephen and Jara, thanks very much for coming on, James, and sharing this list with us. What do you guys think about Sky Striker? Will it survive the ban list? Will it look anything like this in the future? What are your suggestions? Let me know in the comments section down below.